Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Philip, coming from you, Chiang Mai, northern Thailand. Now yesterday, on Thursdays, I'm always on my, 2 days ago, it's Saturday today. Every Thursday I'm on a Zoom call with the Thailand chapter of the Connecting Consciousness movement around the world. I believe there's 100,000 members, and in Thailand we get a mix of residents in Thailand and Indonesia and somewhere. And we talk about spiritual matters and about what's going on in the world. And spiritual matters are very much linked with political matters, because the two go hand in hand, because everything is a whole. But we like to separate things with our mind. One of our friends from Greece, Kate, she came on and she was talking about what's going on in Greece, and she said, oh, you know, there's so many problems. And in fact, I'm going to read some key words, because I was writing notes down as she was speaking, because it was just so typical of the whole world. So these were the key words. You know, she was talking about problems. She's mentioned democracy, and of course Greece was the originator of democracy. She was talking about voting. The voting was being cheated. The democracy was not existing. She'd said, you know, there's people say they align themselves, oh, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm left, I'm right, I'm this, I'm that. And she talked about beliefs, and everybody has the beliefs that this is what you should do and what you shouldn't do. You know, she talked about how the politicians had sold out the country, and they were corrupt, and they don't take responsibility for themselves, and so on. And I was just thinking about all of this. You know, we always look at the politicians and we say that they're corrupt and they don't take responsibility and they sell out the country. Well, my feeling is that they'll sell out the country and they'll corrupt themselves because they are corrupted and they've sold themselves. I like to say, without our soul, we're not whole. And with your soul, you are whole. And if you go into the political environment, you basically have no choice but to sell your soul. Very difficult to operate. It's a bear trap, a swamp, or whatever you want to call it. Now, why does this happen? So you know, you or me, if we suddenly found ourselves in the top job, would we operate with soul, or would we become corrupt and sell out and sell the country out for $10 million? You know, would you say no to the $10 million or the $100 million or whatever it is you're being bribed with, and say, no, I want to work for the country, when all around you have sold themselves? So, you know, there's something, we can either blame the system or we can blame the human beings, ourselves. We can blame ourselves. But there again, blame doesn't get us anywhere. The blame keeps us in victim mode. So we have to rise above blame, but we have to look at the root causes for all of this nonsense that's going on in our world, because humanity's in a serious calamity at the moment, and nobody's talking about root causes. Everybody's always trying to fix something. It's like you've got a huge wound on your arm and you're putting a little plaster on it. It doesn't work. Nobody's looking at root causes. So where's our democracy gone? Where's our freedom gone? Why do ordinary human beings who get into the top jobs sell themselves and sell their country and do what's good for nobody, really? Because, you know, if you're living life every day greedy for more, greedy, you're not happy, you're not smiling, you're not laughing, there's no joy, there's no love, it's not there. So, okay, it's better than being a down and out on the street. Well, maybe it isn't. Maybe a beggar has a better life. I can tell you plenty of beggar stories from Bangkok. I used to observe them. Sometimes I thought, well, they seem to be happier than people living ordinary lives back in my home country in England. So there's all that to think about. But this video is really about the root causes. Why is humanity in such a calamity? Why are humans all over the world suffering? Why have we become corrupted? Why are we in chaos? Why are we in conflict all the time? And I say we because that's all 8 billion humans. Now, not everybody's like that, but it's useful to look at how humanity's going. And at the end of the day, humanity is most people, is people, individual people added together. Now, my answer, of course, is I have an answer because I've been investigating this for 30 years or more. Since I accidentally emigrated from England, I came to Thailand in 1991 on a travel adventure. I loved it so much I didn't want to go home, and I got a job and I never did go home. So because I live in a different culture, in a different society, I started to compare. I started to see things being done differently, and I realised there wasn't just one way of doing things. And one of the things I've learned is that there's only basically two ways of changing things in life. And one is through education and one is through law. And the people in politics only go for the law, which is the stick. Education, proper education, is changing through the carrot. It's a motivating thing to do. It's a good thing to do. So they will focus always on laws. And so we have, I don't know, it's well over 100,000 laws and edicts and statutes in Britain, for example, and the same with most countries. Hundreds of thousands of laws and rules and statutes and edicts and all mandates and all these things. You must do this, you can't do that, you're not allowed to do this. Says who? Where's it come from? Why have we got hundreds of thousands of laws? It's non-stop. Something goes wrong, bring a new law in. Somebody does that, bring a new rule in. Do you know how many laws of nature there are? One. Karma, action and reaction. Sow something and you reap it. Do something and there's an effect, cause and effect. So look at our world, crumbling around us. Where's the discussion about the causes? I think I'll make this a theme. I'm going to talk more about all of this. There's two root causes. The main practical root cause for all our troubles and all our woes, all our trials and tribulations, all our mental pain, mental stress, emotional pain, suffering, conflict, tension, stress, everything that's going wrong in our world, and so many people unhappy, lonely, depressed, frustrated, angst, can't express themselves. Root cause, a shocking, anti-human, anti-health, anti-social, anti-education in the school systems. We're social animals and we get something like 12 years at school, 14,000 hours of classroom time, sitting in rows and columns, no eye contact, no facial interaction, no communication, no collaboration, no learning of social skills, no developing of interpersonal skills, no communication skills. We don't practice how to listen well, we don't know how to read well. We're not even taught how to learn. In 14,000 hours, we're not taught how to learn. I know this because I'm a teacher of learning. I teach learning. There's 4 stages to it: input, intake, output, reflection. All you get in the schools is input, and everybody thinks that input is the same as intake. But intake's what you understand. Input, what come in, is what comes in. Intake is what you understand. So what's happened is that we've never learned how to learn. We've never learned how to communicate with compassion and camaraderie, and and just a word on disagreement. Disagreement's super healthy, because then if you know how to communicate in a respectful and a loving manner, then disagreement's really healthy. Because, well, why do you think that then? This is what happened when I moved to Thailand, because suddenly I'm seeing people thinking and doing things very differently to the British way. And so instead of saying, well, that's the wrong way, which is how we're taught in the schools, this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, end of story, ideology. I want to understand. Well, why do you think that? So in other words, what I'm doing is I'm not listening to respond with my own fixed ideological viewpoint. If you're talking to me, I'm now going to be listening to you to try and understand you first and foremost. That's what you think. Now, okay, so I understand what you've said. Now I need to understand why you're saying it. So if I'm not sure, I can ask you questions and clarify with you. And at the end of all of this, I could say, let me tell you a little story. I went back to England, and I was I met one of my mates, and I know him a little bit now, and I was talking to him about something about the world. This is 10 years ago. And I can't remember his name now, Mark I think it was. And he listened to me very intently, it was very good, and then at the end of it he said, Phil, I have to completely disagree with you. Fantastic, tell me more, Mark. And there ensued the conversation. So we explored each other's viewpoints. I can't remember what happened after that, but I loved it because he said, I have to 100% disagree with you. Beautiful, bring it on, let's understand each other. So I'm going to stop my rant and ramble by saying that in the schools we are taught that this is right, this is wrong, and you do this and you do that. And if you do this, you're good, and if you do that, you're bad. But says who? So long as I don't cause you any harm, I should be able to do what I want. That's the key, cause no harm. So, to give you some food for thought at the end of this video, the human world is in absolute crisis. It's in chaos and conflict. It's corrupted to the core. We're crumbling into our footprint. Nobody's talking about it. It's a big elephant in the room. Nobody's talking about it because nobody knows what the root cause is. Because the root cause was your upbringing, your schooling. We have to address the schooling. So when these politicians come in and they're corrupt and they sell themselves and so on, it's because they don't even know who they are, because none of this is taught to us in the schools. So everything that happens is a result, an effect, the reaping of what we sowed in childhood, what was sown for us in childhood. Now, why is the schooling so shitty? That's my next video. Thank you for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with the root cause behind the terrible, woeful, anti-life, anti-social school system. Have a good day.